All right, how's everybody doing today? Thank y'all for being here. Let's welcome to everyone for being here. Welcome to any new residents we have in the house, and welcome to any residents that have been here for a while, but this is your first time coming to a Mac Chat. Thank you for being here. If you'll join me in a moment of silence, we will get started. Okay, thank you. All right, let's do some follow-ups from last month real quick. So I had a couple questions come up that generated some further questions and discussions about our contract with Morrison. So specifically around this idea, and that's been spread around a couple times, about us being on a tiered system, or there being some sort of an agreement within that specifies the type of food or the quality of food or anything of that nature. So we are not on any type of food tier system. The agreement with Morrison's provides back of house support and some management support, sharing of resources, that kind of thing, not purchasing specifications, that kind of thing. So again, we are continuing to work on some things related to the surveys. I don't have a lot to go into detail this month with that, but just remember those things that I shared last month. Those are still on the radar. And every now and then I'll touch on some items up here that tie into that. So one thing for you all is please help keep us on track and tell us how we're doing. So if we're coming up short of that goal of a 5 out of 5, let us know, and let us know what we can do to change that. Exciting things are on the way. I promise. This is more pertinent to the West group, but if you have friends that are there and you go over there to hang out at any point, the resident lounge, a question came up that we had not purchased furniture for the resident lounge. The group that was responsible for working with me on that did not specify they wanted furniture, so that was a correct statement. But I am getting that group back together. The group did want some shelving, and I have a call out to our decorator to get those shelves ordered. And if you have friends who are in the West Healthcare Center, the courtyard project that I've talked about, that was approved for West gift shop money to be used, just like your board approved for gift shop money to be used here for the nice new deck covering you have there. And then Chris Jones is the IO clinic nurse at West, had a request that we let her stand up at the West chat and sort of introduce herself. So we did that there, and then she actually had a meeting to go to. So we'll get her in front of you all on another date. Some quick expansion construction item updates. The fire pit in the courtyard, if you remember going to the very first new resident social we had, we wanted to have some s'mores, and we could not get the fire pit to light, so we all had marshmallows, plain marshmallows. We got the fire pit fixed finally. If you've been over there recently, that was a little bit of an eyesore, but it is resolved. The pond pavilion, if you hang out over by the villas, the pond pavilion pad has been re-poured, or shaped, I should say, to allow some drainage issues to be resolved. And then if you're somebody who goes to the pool and has experienced the issues in the locker room, so trying to go through those doors that don't open, you run into those doors, you feel like a bird hitting the glass window, or the temperature issues in really any of the wellness center. Those are issues that are actually tied together. So I share that before, people laugh and joke and say, oh, that's an excuse. But that's actually true. So that specifically the shower room and the bathroom going into the showers, that space is tied to the HVAC system, the thermostat that's in the hallway. And so those doors, when those doors broke, we said we need to replace the openers. The way the hardware is mounted, got to get a new door. So we called to get the new door. They said, hold on, your airflow issues are a result of these doors not having louvers in them. So the price difference between a door with louvers and a door without is quite substantial. It's surprising. So we're waiting to hear to get the HVAC issue resolved so that we can order the correct door to get the door issue resolved. So hang in there, and somewhere in the mix of all that, the automatic opener may be able to be replaced without the door being replaced, but right now just hang in there for that. The cemetery lease. We've been told that by this weekend we will have the signed cemetery lease. We had been given some information that it would be this week, but now we believe we got a meeting Friday. Arnie has a meeting Friday, and we feel pretty confident that that will be the day that we receive our signed copy of the cemetery lease. And I know a lot of you are very excited to hear that. Additionally, we have some flood damage over on, particularly in Henshaw, Woman Reading Room. We brought in and some space underneath that y'all don't really see too much, but office space, storage rooms, those kind of things. We brought in after disaster to clean that up. They have cleaned it, dried it, and then we had some areas that are going to need some new drywall. So they're coming in. Daryl met with them today, and they're coming in the next week or 2 weeks time period to do that work for us. And so then we'll have the baseboards back on, some new drywall in some certain areas, and life can resume as normal. And hopefully ceiling tiles, all those things that are damaged should be replaced and repaired. Got to get with the maintenance team to get them up on the roof above the reading room though and see what the deeper root of the problem is there. And then single digits, I mentioned the test drive last chat. That is going live in the next couple weeks. And then out of the meeting with the group that is going to test single digits for us, TV service that is, there was a suggestion that we put out the channel lineup to let everyone see the two side by side. So we do want to offer that. Caroline, my intern up here, has agreed to take that on as a project for us, even though her time with us is nearly up, but she works fast, so we will get that done. So there is a gentleman standing over by the door over there in a black polo shirt, named Reggie. Everybody welcome Reggie. Reggie, yeah. So one thing I should have said at the last chat, Reggie is happy to work with you on your tech issues, but I'm not going to put him on the spot here. He got hit with a ton of questions, which made my life easy at the end of the chat, but poor Reggie, a couple days on the job and he's already had to stand up in front of everybody and answer these kind of questions. So, but he is the tech guy. That's his official title, Data Electronics Technician. And then this is the number you can reach him directly. That is his work cell phone number. If you can't see that, it's 336-908-5541. That went out on the sheet I sent out a while back that had who to call. So if you have a data electronics issue, he's the guy. He's the guy to talk to. A couple people referred to him as the guru, but we're really excited Reggie's here. He's hit the ground running, and you'll hear a story shortly where he's already diagnosed some issues. So if you need to catch him, that's how you do it. Thank you for being here, sir. I know you didn't eat lunch today, so you should go get you something to eat. So thank you. Yes, you'll hear from a lot of people, and we're very happy for that. So additionally, we're going to be next week having some celebrations to celebrate Arnie's contribution to Friends Homes, given that he is moving on to a new role. So we'll be having at the here 10 a.m. coffee and pastry reception. At West at 2 p.m. we'll be having a charcuterie reception, and then shuttles running for both. So feel free to go to one, the other, both. I'm not going to say none of them. Everybody come out and support Arnie. And one little piece of advice: if you have any embarrassing photos of Arnie, please send them to Mary Wallace so that we can get a nice slideshow going to enjoy all the good times. I've heard that there's some costumes. I heard there's a lot of good incriminating photos, so I'm looking forward to being there. So kind of tying in with Arnie, his new role, Hank has been here. He attended the residence board meeting yesterday. We've been working together a lot more to get him acclimated to the community as he comes on as the interim director. And one of the things, both through the survey, some survey comments, and then just general observations that he and I came up with was a lot of people don't know some of the names that we share. Or you see people at events like Cookies with Santa, and you might not know who they are. So one of the things that he came up with was an opportunity for the Brightspire team to be at the chats and introduce themselves, so you can put a face with the name, hear what people do, and that way if we're referencing somebody or they're here or you want to talk to somebody, you know who to go to. An important note, I was not too smart when I did this, and I apologize. This is not September 23rd, that is September 2023, so I apologize. These are all occurring at the chats in these months, so if you're writing these dates down, I'm sorry, I confused myself at the last chat. So Laura Lowe and Janelle Boyd will be joining me at the September chat. Laura is the Director of Sales for Brightspire, and Janelle Boyd is the Marketing Communications Coordinator. So they'll be here in September. In October, Mark Collins and Kelly Underhill. Mark is the VP of Human Resources, and Kelly is the Director of Workforce Development and Retention. Two very important jobs. In the November chat, Julia Hanover will be here. She is the VP and CFO. December 2023 chat. Marisa Ray and Carson, who y'all do know, will be here to say a little piece, give an update. Marisa is the Director of Development. Carson is the Associate Director of Development. In January, Willie Lash will be here with John Patterson. Willie is the Senior Director of IT, and John is the Associate Director of IT. There's a couple people that we're looking to bring in over here. I haven't confirmed those dates, and then I do want to stress, some of these may change based on availability, based on what's going on, that kind of thing. But right now, most of this group is confirmed. So at the next chat, from September on till January, we'll have a Brightspire guest here to sort of introduce themselves, let you ask some questions, those kind of things. So I want to say thank you to the group of residents who met with Jasmine Faz. Jasmine has accepted an offer from us to become the Director of Wellness. There was a group that from the Health and Wellness Committee that met with her, had some good questions, had some good questions for me even, which I was not super prepared for, but I like to think that I can be quick on my feet sometimes. And we'll get to some of those questions in a minute, which is when I share that. And then also welcome Cheryl Bridges, who is our Spiritual Wellness Coordinator. Thank you to the group of residents that met with her, especially those of you that accommodated us running a little late getting across the bridge. So thank you. Had some good feedback from the residents that met with both of these ladies, and we're excited to welcome them to the team. So with that, there are some updates to the department. I'm going to go ahead and show, hopefully it's working over here. So a few things that I want to share about the structure. So going into the interviews for these two positions, but specifically the Director of Wellness role, we shared about the Encompass program and some of the challenges that we face there, which I'll highlight in a moment. Some of those include programming, support for programming, supporting the department, having shared goals for groups of people who do two very different things. So I'm just going to call them by name. You know, Kayla's background is very different than Mary and Hannah's background. So setting goals, shared goals for two groups of people that do very different things is a little bit of a challenge for the department leadership. And then spreading themselves too thin with resources and being able to provide that support to both of them from a standpoint of what the background is. So Kayla's got her background. She needs support that is in line with that. Mary has her background and expertise. She needs support that's in line with that. So one of the things that we went into this saying is that if we didn't find a candidate who is this sort of rare person who has both a background in, physiology, exercise type background, and a life enrichment background, that we were looking at moving these two departments and kind of breaking them out from under one umbrella. So with that, we are going to make some changes to the wellness department. So what we're doing, we're going to move life enrichment activities out of the wellness department. So this allows a couple things to happen, especially keeping in mind the Encompass program, which I've been reminded not a lot has changed. There's not been a lot of movement. You've not seen benefit to that. Part of that is our fault for how we've done things, but part of that is that we need to really highlight that and showcase these dimensions in a different way. So one of the things we're doing, we're moving life enrichment activities out of wellness, which will allow a couple things. So the wellness director and the wellness coordinator will use their background and experience to build more wellness-focused programs. So they will have, Kayla will be taking on more responsibility, the director, Jasmine, will be taking on more responsibility, and we'll look to see more collaboration, more structured, intentional wellness programs. Life Enrichment will be moving to my team, directly reporting to the Director of Independent Living, so that they get that additional support that they've been, not struggling for, but spreading that Director of Wellness attention across a couple different areas of expertise. So they'll be moving here. And this will let both departments receive focused vision, focused goals, working towards the overarching goal of creating a good program. So some examples that really drove this home for us, during the interview process, I met with therapy, and they were sharing some examples from other communities where someone would be referred to physical therapy. They would complete their physical therapy, and at the end of that, physical therapy would say, "Hey, Kayla, Matt just finished PT. Can you help give him a set of programs that will benefit him? He's coming off a therapy caseload." We do that. I would start water aerobics, for example. And then instead of having the same level of water aerobics every day from now until I get tired of going to the pool, I may have one class that I go to, mild intensity, and then I go and it's a little bit more intense, and then I go and it's a little bit more intense. And so that program really offers a huge benefit to residents from a standpoint of staying well, staying healthy, staying in your apartment longer, those kind of things. So that's a really rough example, very, very high level explanation of that. But we see a lot of potential to really get people out of focused on trying to do everything and get people focused on the specifics and really able to grow those programs and offer a lot of benefit there. So with Spiritual Wellness Coordinator, I mentioned meeting with a couple of residents, meeting with different committees and those kind of things. Questions come up about Cheryl's background. And so Cheryl will be serving as our Spiritual Wellness Coordinator, but I do want to share, a lot of times people have asked about this. Chaplaincy and divinity programs now offer, really follow the same track as a therapist or a counselor until they get to the point where they dive into the religious aspects of things. So there's a lot of similarities between what a spiritual wellness coordinator can offer to someone and a social worker or a counselor, but there is still there are some areas that they're different. And so one of the questions came up is, how do we get those resources? And so I wanted to share, because I always say Life Source, and people always look at me and say, well, what's Life Source? So I want to take a minute to not kind of glaze over this, but to really dive into what it is, because I do hear a lot of, what is this? So Life Source is our on-site mental health provider. They already serve healthcare, and they offer their services to independent living. We have signed an agreement with them. There is no cost to friends' homes with that. It's an a la carte service, which I'm going to get to momentarily. Benefits that are counseling services delivered on site. And again, the number of visits is based on how many people they're seeing. So if they're only coming here to see 2 people, they probably will only come, on occasion. They may ask you to come when they're seeing healthcare. If they sign up and have 50 people, they're going to come here a couple times a week. So, but those counseling services delivered on site. They offer medication management programs. So if you're someone who's on anti-anxiety medications, antidepressants, any kind of psychotropic medication, if you're familiar with those kind of medications, they are sensitive, and you either gradually work to get off of those, or you will periodically have to change your doses, maybe even change your medications, because your body they build up in your system. So they offer that program as part of their services. They offer 24/7 support for someone who's in a mental health crisis. Now, that is provided via telehealth, but if you needed their services at any time, you could receive them. They also offer psychiatric services, so a licensed, certified psychiatrist is available through their services. Again, all the people delivering this are licensed and trained to do so. So that is a big perk. A lot of times you get people in roles that have a specialty or a niche, or they may have a very broad degree, but these are people who are trained to deal with people who are moving to life plan communities, people who are grieving, people who are maybe looking at transitioning through to a higher level of care. They're trained to provide in this setting. They're already serving our healthcare, so it offers continuity. So if you were seeing a counselor who was either on staff at Friends Homes, or you were going out to the community, and then you transitioned to a higher level of care, you needed these services or wanted these services, you could not, there's that rapport building. There's time that they're sharing information. This is our provider for healthcare, so it just makes sense that they're our provider for independent living. They provide education for us. So if there's things that we're doing or things that we want to learn, they offer them to us. They also collaborate with us. So if, for example, you're talking to your resident services coordinator, or you're talking to me, or you're talking to Teresa Cruz, and we want to make a referral, somebody's worried about you, or you share that you want to get these services, they're easy to connect with. They're not somebody in the community that we're trying to track down. And then a big benefit, and this is the one I think a lot of people, whether you receive them or not, receive the services or not, should take away, is that these are a la carte services. So if you wanted to receive these services, you would pay a copay. That copay is typically $10. You'd pay a copay to receive LifeSource counseling services, versus someone being on staff at Friends Homes. Everybody sitting in this room is going to pay for that person to be here, whether you're receiving those services or not. And so this is a very good setup for this type of environment for a number of reasons, as well as this is just a great service for everybody. I'm a big proponent of receiving counseling, receiving therapy, and receiving those services as you need them. So how do you sign up for LifeSource? You can see your resident services coordinator, happens to be right here. You can see Teresa Cruz, who happens to be downstairs, a pastor on the way in. And we have that information here today, right now. So afterwards, if you want to receive more information on this and hear about what this is and get a little bit more detail, we can help you with that. But again, I like to stress this because this is a great benefit, but I just don't see, we haven't quite taken a lot of advantage of that yet. So I did want to share that while we were talking about wellness. So upcoming events, we've got the trip to Abingdon, Virginia coming up this week. They leave tomorrow. See some nods in the back. 21 people signed up for that. Good group going. That's going to be a fun trip. There's a trip planned to a Lego art exhibit, which sounds really cool to me. So I do want to share that because sign up for that, interest in that has been kind of low. So I do want to share that. That's a really interesting program. We got Ethan Uzlan, thank you. I can never remember his last name, coming to play piano, as well as Mocktails with Daisy, which is tonight. We've got an interest meeting for the Washington, D.C. Amtrak trip. That is next week. I encourage you to go check that out. That's going to be a really fun trip. The interest meeting's next week, not the trip. The ABBA cover band, tribute band, is coming up this month, as well as a really cool program that the dining committees have put together. So over at the Coble's private dining room, there's a chef's table event. So this is a elevated where the chefs get to be very creative with their menu. It's not something that everybody's into, so we're going to put it on our menu. But it is a little bit more elevated, so there is a little bit larger price with that, but it's a very unique experience, very good experience. So check that out if you're a foodie. And then of course the Bright Spire Olympics are coming up. Kayla's in the back. Sign up. We're ready to compete. We're going to bring home some gold this year. And I got some groans when I made the comment that we feel there was somebody who faked a dizzy episode last year to throw us off our game. So no funny business this year. We're coming for gold. So excited. So we do have a couple of large events that I want to share with everybody so you can get them on your calendar. Fall Festival here will be the 16th of October through the 20th. That is the big week-long celebration to say thank you to you for all of your contributions to the Employee Appreciation Fund, as well as just have a lot of fun and celebrate fall, which we got a little taste of the weather this morning, which was nice. I almost had to break out my Halloween socks, but Mary has started planning this, and it looks like it's going to be a great week. So stay tuned for that. But mark your calendars. New Resident Social, I have the wrong date here. This is the 26th, not the 25th. I apologize for that. But that will be out in front of the villas. So weather permitting, we're going to block off a big section out in front of the villas. We're going to have a big cookout. Everybody's invited. We're going to recognize anyone who moved to the community in the last year. So October 26, 2023 to October 26, 2022, if you moved in that time period, we're going to recognize you, say welcome to the community, and really just take some time to celebrate with each other. Dread and Breakfast, please note the name change. We have had some feedback on the Dead Breakfast, and so we did want to take that into account. So Dread and Breakfast will be on Halloween here in the Ruth Dining Room. Please, you're encouraged to dress up. We had a few in costume last year, but dress up, please, and come out and have some fun. We also will be having on the West Campus that day a trunk-or-treat kind of Halloween-themed party, and we're still working on the details, but this is the date, so that'll be in the afternoon. We are working to contact some schools to see if we can get some kids to come over from the community so we can all do some trick-or-treating together. And who doesn't love to see little kids from New Garden Friends School running around and trick-or-treating. Winterfest at Friends Homes West will be on the 5th of December. Cookies with Santa is at West this year on the 8th of December. And then Founders Day. So this is, we're celebrating a big anniversary this year. So the 12th of December was actually when we officially became Friends Homes 65 years ago. And so on the 12th of December, we're going to celebrate that. And we're going to have a really large party, partially here, partially in the Ruth Dining Room. More details to come on that, but I encourage you to get that on your calendars because it's going to be a lot of fun. We've already had a couple planning discussions about that, so excited for that. I always mention this is my favorite slide because I do like to see, I'm a checklist person, so I like to see when we're doing things, getting things off of our checklist. So if you go to the hub, you got a microwave in there now. As I mentioned, it's off to the side, it's over by the canteen. Health inspectors don't love that, so that's a good place for that to live. So if you want to reheat your coffee, that is where that's at. One of the things that we got a lot of feedback on is the menu at Coble. So one of the things we continue to hear is that it's too heavy, it's unapproachable, it's a little bit, it's just not an approachable menu, especially for lunch. So one of the things that we've implemented that will start on the 7th is a lunch menu. So this is in addition to the current menu. So you can still, if you're somebody who eats a heavy meal at lunch and then snacks, or if you're like me, you eat another heavy meal at dinner, you can still do that. But if you're somebody who wants to eat a lighter lunch with some variety, you want to go over there and eat, you can. We do have a new menu rolling out, and we're excited about that. There are some replacement benches. So several of the benches around campus have needed to be replaced. Daryl and his team have ordered 7 of those. We've also had a group working with Daryl to find placement for more benches for those of you that like to walk, especially walk down towards the bridge. There needs to be places to sit. So Daryl, those benches have come in. They're being constructed and will be placed soon. I had somebody stop me the other day. There was the hot chocolate, or the hot fudge sundae cart was at the Crossroads at West, and somebody said, "What is the Crossroads?" Which brought up a couple things. We need to do a better job orienting everybody to the whole community. And at a minimum, if you don't want to do that, we need to be able to provide you a good map, and that goes both ways. So I hear people from West come over here, and they get lost all the time. Because the current maps we have say, this is where assisted living is. So if I'm going to visit somebody in assisted living at Guilford, I get here, and I can see Woman, I can see Fry, but I don't know what's assisted living. So we're working with some vendors. I reached out to marketing. We're working to get some internal maps made that kind of keep things simple, but help people who are moving here find their way around. And then we have a series of meetings that we've got scheduled to talk about how we help people move in, how we help people get engaged, go back to the surveys, how we're engaging people in the community, and that starts with move in. And so we're working on that whole process. We've heard some feedback about the process from when I sign paperwork with marketing till I lay my head on my pillow for the first night here. We want to focus on that, and we want to make that a better process. And we've had a few of you actually share about the process of moving between levels of care as well, and that is also on our agenda, because that we can always do better. If you got any friends in the villas, so this is the funny story about Reggie. Reggie hit the ground running. We got a phone call that we needed to work on TV in the villas. Reggie went over to work on it. It's his first day on the job. He went with Arnie. And while they're in there, they start getting phone calls that the locks on the villa doors weren't working. So then they got a call, they are working. And we got a call, they're not working. So what was happening, I'm going to throw Daryl under the bus a little bit. Daryl needed an additional outlet installed in some of the supply closets. And so he had an electrician on site, and they killed the power. And the generator comes on, and all of a sudden the villa locks that are supposed to unlock your front door don't work. So then the generator comes back on, well then they work again. So then they kill the power again, and they don't work. So what we found was a lot of the outlets in especially the data closet, were not hooked up to the right outlets, and they were not hooked up to the generator. So Reggie was able to diagnose that, left me hanging. I was supposed to meet him. It was his first day on the job, but he spent 3 hours with Arnie in the villa closet. But he was over there. They diagnosed that, and they're getting contractors on site to fix that issue, because it's not just the door locks, but it is some Wi-Fi, some equipment, and those things. So we're very happy Reggie's with us. But that issue has been resolved. We heard that a lot. Pet waste stations. So we keep getting some concerns about pet waste. If you're somebody who owns a pet, more appropriately, if you're somebody who walks around and gets tired of stepping in some of our less respectful neighbors' animal waste, we have installed some pet stations. Bland, our contract with Bland, they'll maintain those for us, which is nice, so we don't have to do that. Additionally, we're bringing in a piece of turf that'll go around the bottom of those, and that turf has a scent in it that draws animals to that space. So we're hopeful that our neighbors that don't like to clean up after their dogs will, one, be enticed to clean up because we have these stations, and then two, their dogs will just naturally move towards those stations to make it very easy for them to clean up. And there's one of those behind the villas, one over near the pavilion at the villa end of Quaker Hill, and then one at each mail kiosk on Ridgecrest. So those are some of the key areas where we're finding some problems. Committee successes, another favorite slide of mine. Temporary speed bumps have been installed both at Guilford and West. I think we've got a request for a few more, so there are more to come with that. Additionally, we're heading into budget year. We would love to get some repaving done and get some permanent speed bumps down, but until we get to that point where we're safe to promise that, just hold tight with our temporary speed bumps. Restriping at West and Guilford. So especially this lovely area out here where somebody did me a favor and put up some cones, and I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't know, it doesn't go with the aesthetics all that well. I called the company that does the restriping for us that I mentioned last chat. They restriped at Hobbs and then left and forgot to do the spot in front of Fox. And, the parking deck needs some work, and we've identified several areas. So they left. I got them on the phone. They said, I'll be over there Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning rolls around, I'm driving in, and they call me and they said, we've got an emergency, we're not coming. I said, okay. So they just called me today and said, we'd like to reschedule, so they are gonna come out tomorrow. We're gonna walk the spaces. They're gonna give me the quote and set a date to come back and paint those spots for everybody. So next time we see each other in this kind of setting, I'm hopeful those spots will be repainted. If you drop any mail at Friends Homes West, don't think you would, but if you do, there is a new outgoing mail kiosk that looks better than what we've had. Chef's Table event I mentioned already. One thing to note, if you're on the new contract and you enjoy the Chef's Table event, or if you're not and you want to pay for catering, you can have an event similar to that catered. So if you think back to when the Travel the World program finished and Jeff prepared that menu for our winners, and it was a little bit more elevated. It was different food, it's not things that everybody likes. If you want to do that, you can cater those kind of events. So if you're a foodie and you like to eat and you like to try new things, the team is really having a good time with this event. So if you want to cater a small event like that, please do so. So for all my buffet lovers, think back to survey, all the buffet lovers out there, we are doing weekly buffet nights. So the buffet will be back weekly. It will have a theme. In August, we've got the 10th and the 24th scheduled. I know that that's not weekly. Weekly starts in September, so we got 2 trial runs to get it right before September. But there will be a Mexican buffet and an Asian buffet on these 2 days. I'm not sure which order. Forgive me for that. And then in September, we'll start to have a weekly buffet night, both at Ruth and at Cobles. The menu will be different at each of those, so you can look at that in advance and decide what you want. But the offerings will be a little bit different so that you can still choose what type of food you want to eat. So the Friends Homes West Activity Committee started a card that we use to receive feedback on programs, kind of like when you evaluated a college course. I believe that has been shared around with some of you have seen those, as well as suggestion forms, healthcare courtyard I mentioned. One exciting thing here, the committee logos. So we got a lot of really great committees, as you can see by this list of things, and they work really hard. So the committees have come up with, some of the committees have come up with logos so that you can see some of their efforts, see some of the things they're doing and recognize that. So one of which is the Guilford Library Committee, which I think this is just the coolest logo. This is great. So kudos to the Library Committee for coming up with their awesome logo here. And then the West Activities Committee has come up with this. And there's a lot of meaning behind the bees, but I won't. I don't do it justice, so I'm not going to try. But this is great. So if you see these on some things, you know where that came from. So I will stop there. So kind of a light month. Do we have any questions?
You said that there would be a $10 copay for meeting with one of the source counselors. Who pays for the rest of it?
So it goes insurance, Medicare. They're like other healthcare operations. They do have a charity care piece that they do, but their copays are $10, and in some situations $20, but 10 is their typical copay. And some of that information may be in the packet we have, and if not, Tiffany is our customer service rep. She could answer any of those questions, and I can get you in touch with Tiffany.
This came up before, and we haven't heard a response. What is the cost of transportation to go to doctor's offices and to the airport?
Thank you for reminding me about that. I apologize that I did not get you an answer to that. If you will forgive me, off the top of my head, I don't know. But let me get that, and I will share it in a follow-up to this. I'll share it by next week. I'll get that out if somebody can take a note. And Susie can add it to the pulse. Thank you. Microphone's coming. Hang on.
What is the
status of the beauty shop right now? Who's doing it, and how do you get an appointment, et cetera, et cetera?
So the beauticians that have been here for long standing are still here. They are self-managed right now. We did enter into an agreement with PS Salons. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I signed on my end, the group that I've shared those details last couple chats. I'm waiting to hear back from them again about some of the things we're working out as far as equipment needs, some facelift that the salons need. So that will be coming soon. But the beauticians that we have here are going to be able to interview with PS Salon and make a decision if they want to stay on. But right now, you would just call down there, go down there and make an appointment. And I know you and I worked out, we had the one issue, but yeah, if you run into that again, let me know. They've been pretty responsive. I know we've had some staffing challenges too. They've had a couple of them have been out, but should be no change. So if you're seeing some issues, let me know.
Will a representative from Single Digits be coming here to visit us to allow us to ask questions?
Regarding TV
Well,
or just in general?
well, telephone and possibly TV as well.
I don't think we've planned to have anybody on site again in that format, but we can certainly reach out to them and see if that's something that they would be willing to do. Again, you know, they had the town hall initially, but that was way back before we started implementing things and seeing things in real time. Kayla, we got one more over here. Oh, our battery died.
Is Reggie competent to do those things for us?
The question, I don't think anybody didn't hear that, but the question, is Reggie competent to do those things for you? Yes, Reggie is competent to do those things for you. Reggie, Reggie, you heard me mention he didn't eat lunch. He's already been doing those things. And so we're excited to have him here. He is competent to do that. A question that came up at West, so you think back to what I mentioned about LifeSource and who pays for it and that kind of thing. Reggie is on our payroll. So Reggie services are free. Reggie is not like William Stokes. So if you have an issue, call Reggie. Don't hesitate and worry about the cost. Reggie is a service that we offer you at no charge. If you call William, you got to pay for William. Hang on. Mary's coming your way.
Matt, just a follow-up about television services. Where are we as far as decisions about whether Spectrum or Dish or DirecTV? What's the situation?
So there's not been much development since the last couple times we talked. So we're on a month-to-month with Spectrum. We are doing this trial run. So the equipment, for those of you that don't know, the expansion at West, when we went to build that, we locked into a Single Digits contract. So they are receiving DirecTV through Single Digits. And so with that, there's been hardware installed on the West campus to receive that signal that is not in place on the Guilford campus, and large equipment. So several $1,000s to install that. So because of that infrastructure already being there, there is a group of 3 residents on the West campus who are going to pilot that inside the apartment, because what we've heard, some of those challenges we face in the new units, due to the infrastructure in place in these apartments and the West apartments, they feel that those won't be a problem. So we said we want to see it rather than take you at your word for that. And so they are doing that test. So once that test is complete, we're going to get back together with the Building and Facilities Committee here and there, have some conversation around that, and hopefully near a decision point with that. Additionally, the Gateway Lounge, if you're over at the Wellness Center, is set up for DirecTV. We are getting the remote program, so if you want to test out DirecTV as far as the channel lineup, how you navigate over to the music channels that are provided through Spectrum that we were worried were lost, all those things, you can do that in the Gateway Lounge too. So once that remote's fixed, feel free to go over there and try that out too. But as far as closer to a decision, we're not quite there yet, but hope to be there soon.
I bought my own television set. I wonder what's the best way to identify it, mark it somehow so that it doesn't get just thrown out somewhere or moved to somebody else if I have to move to a different area.
I think that we will, I'll touch base with Hannah or Neil or somebody over there, and we can get that marked. Yeah, we'll get that marked. Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank y'all for coming. Appreciate y'all being here, and appreciate your questions, and thank y'all very much. See you next time.